All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Friday in July. Yes, absolutely. Very good. I don't have my applause button anymore, so I have to do it. I changed out mixer boards, and I just realized I can't hit my applause button. I don't have it anymore. I had to switch to this other one. It sounds better, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, unfortunately, that the other one had. So, hey, welcome to the Cyber Social Hub Hubcast. What in the world is it? Most of you should know because you're here hanging out. And it's just our little, what we call it is the really bad late night talk show that we do in the middle of the day. That's really it for a Friday. It's a good reason to, tell your boss you have some learning points on a late Friday afternoon and not to do anything else, right? Because we're going to teach you something. There'll be something that the guest who is much smarter than me will teach you. I will not probably teach you anything, except I do have a great story that I'll save for a little bit later on. We do have a sponsor to the show. I want to make sure I get to the sponsor here, because if not, Megan will be yelling at me and say, you didn't do the sponsor, and I have to switch way and do it. Oh, there it is. It's Belkasoft, but it's specifically Belka GPT, right? So basically, if you've ever wanted to have like a forensic assistant, right? All of us, if you're in a one-man lab, have wanted this. It's going to help you quickly find those relevant artifacts that you constantly look for, thousands of them, right? As you sift through all that digital evidence. Well, Belka GPT from Belkasoft, it's going to do it for you. So basically, if you haven't checked it out yet, Belka GPT is an I'm going to say this all wrong, offline AI assistant. So that's important, right? Offline AI assistant designed specifically for digital forensics and incident response. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do travel over to their website, check it out. So it does work without an internet connection, ensuring your data stays very secure. So it runs on standard DFIR lab machines, so there's no need to go get some crazy expensive machine, although generally the forensic labs are some crazy expensive machine anyway, so you already got it just in case. But with each response, Belka GPT gives 3 sources for its answers to help make sure the AI's interpretation of the information is accurate. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you can upgrade your digital forensic incident response workflow over with Belka GPT. It's included for free with Belkasoft X. You can get started. I'll put the web URL up, but I'm going to read it to you here. I'll put it up just a little bit later on, or it'll be down in the show notes below. After we're done with the live, if you're seeing this in a replay, just take a look down there. It's belkasoft.com /Belka GPT. And Ron, I see your comment there. I don't think it can run on a Commodore 64. If you're doing forensics on a Commodore 64, we should talk. I'll hook you up with a friend of mine who can help you out. Awesome. Fantastic. I hope everybody had a great 4th. Those of you here in the US and had some time off for the 4th. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. For sure. So hope I got to spend it with my family, which I don't get many days off, and it was great, really great. With that being said, now I'm going to bring on our guest, and with the magic button click, there he is, Brandon. How are you, sir?
Hey, Kevin, I'm doing well. Thanks.
Good to hear, man. Now you were on the show just beginning of last month, right?
It was IASIS was in.
Was it IASIS?
Yeah, it was.
That's why it was IASIS. So now that was April. Holy crap!
Yeah,
that was April. It seems like I just saw you.
Well, we've seen each other since then.
Oh, I did see you, right? In Bloomington. That's why I was thinking you were on the show then. You weren't. Yeah, it was. We had you on at IASIS down there.
Yeah.
So, man, and it just surprises me that, and I asked you to come back on. You're like, sure, even after that experience. So,
well, you promised me a 2:00 hour on a Friday where I could have an excuse to get away from my boss. So, but that hard tell.
Yeah, that's how it works. Hey, you are the boss. Wait a minute. It's like me. I kind of am too. So, all right. It's more for my staff. I'm tied up for an hour and I can't nag them. So, it's
a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, before we get started though, before I start grilling down into your personal life, where I make you, like, who was it? Barbara Walters made everybody cry and reveal their deepest, darkest secrets, which I won't do. Don't worry. Tell everybody a little bit about Medex, a little bit about the company.
So Medex, the succinct definition is we are a source identification and video authentication platform. What does it actually mean? Is we take unknown video file, just the file itself, no file system data, and we are able to analyze that not using pixel values or what you see on the screen or what you look like, or metadata values, the semantic or the descriptive metadata values. We're leveraging this previously unexploited dimension of videos, which in file structure, to get some really deep insight and to have some deterministic analysis to say this is true camera original or this file is not a camera original. However, this is where it came from. It's not from Brandon's iPhone 15. This originated on Kevin's Galaxy A20 and was sent to Brandon through WhatsApp in a deterministic way that doesn't really rely on those metadata, those fickle metadata values.
Right. That's pretty awesome that you guys can do that, though. It's a unique product. We patented the process, the core of our analysis. It's been in development for a while, and I enjoy it because we're looking at video in a way where it's data more as data instead of what my forensic eyes say. This is what the data tells us. That's awesome, and you looks like you got some fans in the audience too, or stalkers, one of the two. John Nelson says, "Long time no see."
Yeah,
it's a great tool.
all the way from All right. Well, all right.
I'm kidding, John. I don't know you. I just make fun of everyone.
Forever. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry, I talked right over you.
I said the bar tab is going forever. Now that John put in there, it's good to see John there. We went to grad school together at University of Colorado Denver at National Center for Media Forensics.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Very cool. So not a stalker. We're safe. Good. All right. Life goes on. Very cool. So we were going to talk a little bit about, how to, I know obviously when I was doing investigations, which was a really long time ago, we didn't have the technology, obviously, that's out today and the ability to verify where something came from. And I know and I know some of these things Medex does, some of it does not, because you, hang on. I before I want to preface this, you're part of other organizations, right? I mean, you do other things, not just like a sales guy for Medex. I want to get everybody clear on this first.
Full disclosure. Okay.
Yeah.
I despite the lack of hair, I wear a few different hats. I would say
you'll get burned if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I've made that mistake before. Yeah. So my primary role is I am one of the co-founders of Medex Forensics, and I currently technically my title is the Chief Forensic Officer, which means really I'm in charge of ensuring we have a forensically sound product, stuff that is admissible for use in legal proceedings in court, making sure users are supported to be able to do so. So I absolutely unequivocally have skin in the game. I have the shirt on to prove it, that I'm not an independent person saying how great Medex is. I'm going to admit that I am biased there.
Right.
I'll say outside of that, I have a couple other roles. Probably takes up most of my time is I also chair the scientific working group on digital evidence, SWIG-DE, which is hopefully everybody that's watching this knows what it is already. If not, we're not doing a good enough job marketing. But I'll say that it is it's a standards development organization, a standard setting organization that has a ton of reference material for practitioners, for those that are providing digital forensic services or examining digital evidence. And that's made up by a group of federal, state, local law enforcement, private examiners, academia, attorneys that come together and as a consensus body write those documents.
Yeah, I would hope everybody has heard of that organization that's watching. Would hope, but you never know.
Listen, we're a small nonprofit. It's not always easy to get the word out, but hopefully we keep spreading it, and the more we do, the more it spreads.
Yeah, very cool, very cool, and that keeps you pretty busy over there, right?
Yeah, we're growing and growing. Every meeting looks like we're setting a record for the attendance from the last meeting. The amount of documents that we're producing. There's never-ending, flow of work. I always say, this isn't a knock against the fingerprint examiner, but that technology hasn't changed at the pace as mobile device examinations has in the past, 10, 15 years.
Right. Right. I'm going to go ahead and put up there's the URL. I also put this in chat, and I'll make sure I attach this down into the show notes afterwards, because YouTube does this weird thing that it makes all the chat go away until, I don't know, it takes like an hour, and then it brings it back for whatever reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why they do it, but there it is. It's down below. So
cool.
You guys want to check it out.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Now you do. With that, I kind of wanted to segue in some of the topic, and why we chose the topic that we did is because you've been talking a lot. You've been traveling around to a lot of different shows here just in the last 4 or 5 months. And you got to be at least like top airline status by now, right?
Yeah, that's.
Says it with
my
a
daughter
frown.
likes it when we get to get on the plane first. I said, "This is the reason why I have to miss your softball game." Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, not a good thing.
Yeah.
But no, I don't miss those days. That's why I can joke about it now. And make fun of you.
It's definitely a grind. It's a grind, but it's a needed one. So definitely spend the last 4, 5, 6 months really talking. Most of my talks have been on AI, generative synthetic media.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit what that is for those, maybe there's some new folks out in the audience that, and what you just said sounds like a science fiction movie, which would be a really good one for that matter. But yeah.
All right. So over the last, I would say probably the last year, I think everybody's the explosion of, ChatGPT and generative AI tools like DALL-E, Midjourney, Runway, the announcement of Sora by OpenAI, who makes ChatGPT, has really exploded. But really, what is it? When we're talking in terms of, and particularly what our research is and our role in this big environment at Medex Forensics is about detecting, not so much, people want to hear about the detection of what is generated from AI. And what exactly is that? That's basically using a generative AI algorithm. So basically somebody would train an AI model. So I feed it data and I basically tweak settings. First off, I'm way oversimplifying this. But
no, you're speaking to me. Remember that. So you're doing a very good job. Keep that up.
At a very high level, I feed this model data, and I then tweak settings so it starts producing things that I think would be accurate or what I would want to see is probably a better way of saying it. But in doing so, and automating using some machine learning or some generative artificial intelligence, the more data I feed, the more I tweak, the better the AI gets, and probably the less I need to tweak, and it could tweak itself. So, and if you take nothing else away, that's really, the further you go, in theory, the better the model should be. It's not always that way. But as opposed to back in the day of 2023, people, if I wanted to manipulate a video or an image, I would go to a tool like Photoshop, and I would have to know how to use Photoshop. Mm-hmm. And I would have to be able to, edit and be able to splice. And it would take me hours upon hours, unless I'm really skilled producer or editor, to make these changes. And what we found is now it's kind of democratizing that to a degree, where I could put this technology in the hands of a layperson, have them type in, put a mustache on Kevin's face, and then a mustache would miraculously appear. I haven't seen it done live yet, but maybe I'll come back if the technology gets to that point. We'll be able to get that for. Yeah, and I'd have to agree. Like these tools, like Photoshop and the editing tools, are not exactly, unless you're in them every day with a high proficiency, you're not going to be able to get a good result. At least that's my experience.
Right. I can draw a flower and paint. That's about my skills.
Exactly. And at a higher end, so we can use this AI to take the human interface out of that and to produce some hyper-realistic results. So when you start thinking about it, then we start hearing more about these deepfake videos or face swap or generative AI that is able to produce ultra-realistic imagery that is, I want to say, imperceptible or difficult to detect from the naked eye. So that's really the background of what AI or generative data is. And that's really the concern of the public, I should say. And it's an important distinction, concern of the public over the past year as we've been inundated with, presidential election coming up in November.
Oh boy.
Tom Cruise doing magic tricks on TikTok, trick shots on Instagram.
Right.
All these are inundated with, can I believe what I look at because the AI is so believable, it's so realistic. How do I trust what I see online? Is really the public is where everybody's mind goes to.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now I know, by no means am I an expert in this field, but we've tinkered with it here. I gave a talk at Cyber Social Con, and it's just with some marketing tools that are publicly available out there. And there's one called HeyGen that does a freaking really good job of it. And I had to train it to me. And all I did was sat and talk to the camera for about, I think it was 2 minutes. I had to sit and just stare at the camera, talk, do my regular stuff. And then I could type in whatever I wanted it to say. And it was freaking me. And I couldn't tell. Occasionally I'd get a little twitch, like, I had too much coffee. Yeah. But other than that, man, it was creepy. And that's,
which could be possible on a good day anyway. Yeah.
Right.
The caffeine part, not the creepy part. Well, I'm not going to say creepy.
Maybe both, depending on what's in my caffeine, right? Irish coffee, who knows what's going to come out.
Yeah. But to your point there, I'll tell you this is that, this is a global threat, global issue. We have partners that we're doing research with in Southeast Asia. And I will tell you, the apps that are coming out of that area of the world that have not hit the U.S. yet are scary. Wow. The stuff that they've been working with 2-3 years, we're first seeing here. I start seeing the videos that they're generating on apps that are widely used amongst like teenagers there, and we have never heard of. They're not in English, and the results are ultra realistic.
Wow. That's scary. If some people can do some.
Oh yeah. I'll say this though, and only because it's a topic of a lot of our talks. But being this is the Cyber Social Hub, and we're forensic investigators or digital investigators here, is that our need is actually a little bit different than that, right? And this is what I like to highlight, especially in a lot of the talks that I do, is that everybody wants to think about the Pope wearing Balenciaga. Princess Kate, is that her online or is that a deep fake? Right. The stuff in presidential elections. Listen, we as forensic examiners, digital investigators, we deal with acquired evidence. We don't deal with, can I look and believe something that I see online? We deal with, all right, here's the data, and this is how I deal with that data. We're not. Right. I don't think anybody's gone to a live website in a courthouse and said, all right, this is the website where these drugs were sold on. Let me pull it up right here for you, and this is my evidence. Probably not the wisest way to start presenting evidence in court. And I wouldn't do that with video evidence that way that appears online either. So we deal with acquired data, which and data provenance and authenticity the same way the federal rules of evidence apply to any other photograph or image evidence. But with that even being said, our judges, our juries, those that are expected of us, the ones that are evaluating our testimony or ability to introduce this evidence in court or to evaluate it, they're the ones that are also inundated with this, hey, you can't believe anything you see online. Everything's very easily to be manipulated. So that's why we have to work on solutions for use, not in the, is this real or not? Is this basketball shot real or not on Instagram? But the evidence authenticity space when we start putting evidence into court, because there is an absolute difference whether I could trust this, Instagram reel or whatever, TikTok, and can I take this video evidence I have acquired and introduce it into court?
Right. And how hard is it to detect, like, something that was, if it's a really good, obviously, not, I've seen some AI that just horrible, right? Yeah. It's like Max Headroom stuff that's going on there. Yeah. And see, you're old enough to know that. And, but, if it's really good AI, how hard is that to detect, to make that determination, and where you can, raise that right hand in court and say, yes, this is here, this is why?
So from our approach, our patented approach at Medex, Um, I'll explain a little further about that because that's integral into this. Is because we live at how the video is actually encoded. At the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to make a deepfake video here in New Jersey and send it to you in Ohio, I have to send you an MP4 file, let's say, right, or an MOV.
Right.
Let's stick with the MP4. I got to send you an MP4 file that you can open and play. Um, so I have to not only train my models, that's all great and fine and good. At the end of the day, I need to encode that. I need to take the pixels that I want to display on the screen. I need to put them into ones and zeros in an MP4 file, or I need to build that MP4 file.
Right.
And to be able for me to send that to you, there needs to be some kind of format specification or some rules. In this case, it's called the ISO-based media file format, but it's really the rules for building MP4 files. And the rules for building MP4 files say inherently based on two concepts. One, that everything all my data has to be contained in what they term boxes. So now imagine these digital boxes. And to me, to build the file, I need a whole bunch of information, not just what I see on the display. I need to know things like, what is the resolution going to be? I need to know what rate am I playing this back at, aside from all the information I need to make the shirt I'm wearing black, the shirt you're wearing blue, to represent that. All those information are stored in separate boxes throughout the video file. So ones and zeros, boxes of ones and zeros.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the format also says is that while I have to store it that way, it's very flexible in which order I use those boxes, or which boxes I decide to use. So take this back to my deepfake encoding. I built the most brilliant encoder. It took me years to do. I have the absolute best, most realistic deepfake video that I can encode. I still need to use those boxes to build my my deepfake, right? I still need to build that MP4 file.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Medex lives. Is what we know video encoding. At the end of the day, I don't care how good your deepfake is or how bad it is, you still have to build that file. Now, an Apple iPhone builds differently than a Samsung, which builds differently than Adobe Premiere Pro, which builds differently than Camtasia. And that builds differently than Runway, Dolly, any other deepfake encoding tool, because it's either hardware-based encoder or software-based encoder. And because these are digital encoders, we're able to start going back through provenance chain generationally, where we're able to start really identifying basically a fingerprint of the encoder to identify brand or model. We're never going to say this is Kevin's deepfake encoder or Kevin's cell phone. We could go back and just say this is consistent with Runway deepfake encoding deterministically, because we know that Runway encodes like that. And we know that no other camera in the world that we've seen encodes like that. It's an important distinction that we've seen. So the other aspect of what we're doing is we built a 70,000 file plus reference library of known encoding, so we could take that unknown encoding and compare it to it. So the user can't control the encoding of their device or their software at that binary level. So, which is good for us because we know outside the user control, we could take and compare and understand what's going on.
Yeah, and that requires you guys to have like massive database then of known devices, known encoding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the strengths. I mean, we have, I would say, the largest database of video encoding in the world with known ground truth data.
Wow. Now, do you get to buy all those cameras yourself and then play around with them, or?
So, So what you don't see is now we have a lab in our headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, where and of those 71,000 files, I should say this is that we've created the vast majority of those in-house. We have a trusted partner for some of them. We have. If we could vet them from a user submission, like we don't take them from the internet and say, "Oh, that looks like a Canon VD40 camera," and we're answering serious questions here. We can't get that reference library creation wrong. So we have a lab there. We have people that specifically work on reference library creation. We have a library of devices right now. I think it's over 2,500 individual devices that are in the lab consistently being added to.
That's pretty stinking awesome. All that stuff. I mean,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That
I'm not gonna lie. Geek out a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Brett has a question.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I get this here back up on the
Yeah.
screen. There we go. He says, how difficult is it to identify a 2 or 3 second manipulation in a real video, such as changing of a spoken word or something like that?
Okay. That's a good question. So what we're doing in Medex, since it's at the encoder level, we will deterministically say, so let's say if I take let's say a 3-minute voice memo on my iPhone, and then I trim out 2 seconds out of that on my iPhone, we're going to say structurally, deterministically, regardless of what the metadata says, that second file A is my original, file B is my trim. We'll able to deterministically say that file A, absent what metadata says, original, file B, absolutely trimmed deterministically, because those either match or they don't to the encoding of a trim, whether it be video or audio, or in a third party tool or on a device. We won't be able to say, and just the limitation, because we're dealing with the encoding, we're not going to say at 6 minutes and 32 seconds, 3 seconds were removed. We talk about this in our training class. There are ways to help kind of discern whether, especially in trim files on, let's say, on Apple devices, whether the trim happened at the beginning, at the end, in the middle. And there's some really good papers that are written on that to use some metadata values. And we talk about some ways to trust our metadata values. We run specific, I would say, dozens of logic-based tests to make sure nobody has edited metadata from a hex editor, not from a software application, to trust that. But yeah, but yes, we're absolutely able to deterministically say, this video file has passed through Premiere Pro, the most popular editing tool in the world, but we're not going to say it was changed at frame 6,952. We can do some additional work with possibly some XMP data, let's say in a Premiere video, to help that out. But yeah, that's pretty much how analysis would go.
That's awesome. Now, I'm going to throw some different questions up here. Let me get Brett's. Thank you there. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Brett.
And so let me throw a scenario, because my brain's racing here like crazy. Does this apply if we're dealing with the original video? So if it's been copied and the format changed, isn't that codec then being changed? Again, I'm not that familiar with it, so I'm sure somebody else is kind of running through their brain too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great question. I when you said scenario, I thought you were going to be like, a train leaves Ohio at 65 miles an hour, and train. No, that I can handle. So interesting point what you just said. First off, especially in the realm of synthetic and authentic and AI generative media, right now, going back to that really quick, the threat, as I see it and we see it with our users, is really less about detecting AI and generative media in the legal atmosphere, in the legal space. And it's entirely more about proving authenticity, proving originality. We're seeing this time and time again, increasing time and time again, challenges to evidence admissibility because opposing counsel is saying that image, that video, is a deepfake. The most particularly, at least particularly disturbing to me, are in ICAC and CSAM prosecutions, where the defense is that video is not real. That is a synthetic generated video, and you can't convict me of this crime because that's not a live victim. And that isn't a challenge so much to the weight of the evidence, but it is of the admissibility of it, because the argument, and obviously I'm not a lawyer, but if I understand at least at a higher level, is the argument to the court is that the video file is not what it purports to be, because it's completely generative, completely synthetic. And the courts are not to say that they're entertaining the motions to the point where whoever's tendering this evidence has to go through additional steps to prove the authenticity of it. Whereas in the previous years, it was a lot easier to admit that, based upon we wouldn't have that ability to really easily change it. We're seeing that not only, and we're seeing in regular criminal cases too. Seen most recently with me it was actually an aggravated sexual assault case where the suspect was seen walking down the street right before an unfortunate criminal act, And the claim was that video, that not that it wasn't him on the video, is that video was completely synthetic and deepfake to frame him for that crime. And then evidence hearings ensued. So the actual proving that evidence is real, or is, I'm saying, probably a better term, authentic, is a much bigger need right now.
Sure. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. To the second part of that is like when you say, all right, when I take, let's say, I have my original video and then I send it to you, it's going to change.
Right.
Whether I send it to you, let's say by Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, even an MMS message or an iMessage, and we're 33 minutes into our podcast here before I come out with it depends.
That's a record, I think.
Here we go. But it really highlights the fact that it will likely change, right? The pixel values will likely change. The metadata will likely change. The question is that because these are software and hardware encoders, and we have a reference library, and this is the really cool aspect of Medex, is that we created all these provenance chains in this reference library. So I know that let's say I send a Samsung Galaxy S9 video from Kevin to Brandon in Telegram. Mm-hmm. Let's say then I'm caught up in some kind of criminal act. Somebody seizes my device, full file system acquisition, acquired parse data. We found this video and we want to know where it came from. Outside of any file system information, Medex will say, and outside the metadata, Medex will say that this is not a camera original video to Brandon's phone. This is was last touched by, what did I say, WhatsApp or Telegram. This is last touched by Telegram, but it originated on a Samsung S9, whatever I said, video. So even though the metadata will show no values that say Samsung S9 or anything on there, because we know what structurally at a binary level, we know what an S9 video that is transmitted through Telegram looks like at that structural level, and that S9 transferred through Telegram looks different than iPhone 7 transferred through Telegram. It looks different than S9 transferred through MMS message, because each one of these leaves its own. And my colleague Bert likes to use the term tool marking, and it's a really great analogy. Is that every software encoder leaves some kind of tool marking on our device, on our evidence. So we're able to start really getting really deep insight and going back through provenance chain through generation based upon that file structure, even though the metadata is brand new. Not that it's been stripped, not that it's been removed, but it's actually a new video file, which is a completely separate topic.
That's awesome. Holy crap. I don't have even thought of that. I don't know if even some of our audience has even considered some of the things that you just brought up. That's pretty amazing stuff that you guys have built.
Yeah, it's a lot of and believe me, this is absolutely, it was not my original idea. I worked with some really, really great colleagues that had the vision of being able to take structural analysis and being able to scale it in an automated way. Because, I guess it was published a few years ago. I forget I think it was a German researcher published using file structure as a method of analysis, but it was more of a one-to-one comparison, and it wasn't really in the depth that we're doing this now. My colleague Bert Lyons, who was the one that really pushed the envelope to say, all right, this is how we could exploit every byte of that video file at scale to be able to do that and do it in a way that we can, use in everyday investigations.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I'm going to pop up your website here. Man, if I lost it, I put it in chat a couple seconds ago. There it is, right there. So if you guys want to, because you had mentioned that you guys have some training classes, which I see here on the website. Here again,
we just finished one this week. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, there's your face right on the website. Yeah, right in there. So yeah, you did one the 9th and 10th. I see it right here. Yeah. And you sold it out, no less, because it says so right there on the website.
Sold out. And thank you for reminding me. I now need to update the website.
Well, it's only a day away, or 2 days now. No pressure.
I will get with our marketing department and have them update the website.
Yeah, no pressure.
which is also me. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it is. It's just that multiple hats that you were talking about. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Multiple. Yeah. It's multiple hats.
Yeah,
There are a bunch of
but
us here, but we all share a lot of different jobs. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, I get you. Trust me, get you. So we do the same thing here. I think all
Yeah.
smaller businesses are that way.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So again, medexforensics.com if you guys want to check that out. I'm going through some of the questions here.
Yeah.
Ron has one. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it
Yeah.
up. Any thoughts on how to protect end users from falling
Yeah.
from
That's-
deepfakes?
Yeah.
Because if you send it to my mom, it's true, and she's going to repost it. That's just the way it is.
I will tell you what. Big concern, especially from that community.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult, right? And I think there's a few different, like, obviously the end user protection from bad actors before a crime happens is a little bit. It's not really the focus of our work, but I mean, we get into it because it's an adjacent kind of thing. I would say just it's difficult, especially. I mean, everybody's got to have the talk with your parents about, I'm not going to Tijuana, and I am not going to be in jail there. My car isn't going to break down. And actually happened to my grandmother, and she thought that I had been in an accident, and the person had asked for money, and she knows that I would never ask her for money, and she knew something was wrong and called me. So thankfully, but I will. I'll tell you a quick story, and even internally, based upon, I would say that Bert, my colleague Bert Lyons, his background does come from a data archivist. He's original archivist at the Library of Congress, a digital archivist at the Library of Congress. His entire life has been about digital asset management, understanding data, and digital data, and video and audio data. And that's really, when I first met him, I'm like, man, this guy knows far more about video and audio evidence than anybody that I've ever met in the law enforcement or government space. But coming from that standpoint, data security and hygiene has always been, something that's been really forefront here at Medex Forensics. Aside from the product development and everything else, so months ago, months and months ago, we have. I'll tell you how we do it here. Is we have a password management system, right? Like many agencies or many organizations do, probably more on the corporate side than the government side. But it's developed a policy that says and I mean, we're not a huge company, right? But it says if we if Bert ever reaches out, or anybody ever reaches out and asks for you to transfer funds or do anything odd, we'll have, a daily passcode or an updating passcode within the password manager. Go to your password manager, see what the passcode is prior to doing anything else. And, me being cavalier about many things in life, I was like, all right, that's cool. That's Bert the librarian going overboard again. But, still, I know it's setting us up for success, right? Well,
Right.
I'm going to look at my other screen here because this was Monday this week. One of our contractor employees, actually, he sends me a screenshot of it. He says, hi, and this is his name. He says, please let me know if you get my text. Best regard, Bertram L., CEO, co-founder of Medex Forensics. Now, this particular person, we use Slack a lot, right? Slack, Zoom. Nobody really has, we have each other's cell phone numbers, but not a whole lot, because there's no need to have it's weird. There's no need to even have cell phone numbers anymore. Well, this particular person actually doesn't have Bert's cell phone number. So while this is going live, he says, Bert, this is blank, confirmed, I received your text. And then basically the next text is, I'm in a conference call meeting. I need you to handle a task for me. Let me know when you're available. Yeah, I'm available, ready. And it says, we have a few clients who want to compensate with some gift cards. Can you confirm if you can get the cards at a nearby store? And the immediate response from the guy at Medex is, yes, what is the passcode? And the conversation went dead right after that. So really just to say, we've had these policies in places for months, and Brandon being, the a-hole that he is, like, another policy, I get it, I need it. But nobody wants to deal with it at the time. But absolutely, if this story doesn't hammer it home, to have these checks in place, because these scams are getting more and more complex.
Yeah.
This could have very well easily been a phone call. hey, hey Kevin, it's Brandon. I need you to just pick up some gift cards really quick. I forgot this, this big client we're supposed to send something to for their birthday. And then we're off to the races.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Now I found, while you're explaining this, I don't know if this is the right video or not. I'm really hoping it is, because I'm going to show it right now. Kind of what you're talking about here.
Okay.
I'm
making me nervous.
Oh, I'm even more nervous because I'll get the strike from YouTube. But let me switch over to this here, and it should be me here, and hopefully we can still hear each other. Okay, you see me there on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna hit play. Hopefully the audio comes through on this okay as well. So let's take a look here. It's me speaking Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Now it's not the best. You can see a little bit of twitches in this one. This was before I was refined. I can't even order from at the sushi place. So
listen, yeah. It's important to highlight, like, the other part is, like, there's a lot of great uses of this technology, and you just highlighted one. We could be having this conversation in completely different languages, but I could hear my native tongue in my ear and yours in yours. But it does come with some, really, really big trade-offs, and the voice one scares me even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary, and and I don't know how. Again, it's been so long since I've had to do CSAM type investigations, and how those defenses. Before it was like some other dude did it defense, right? And now it's now it's an AI defense essentially, and I don't know if that's what they're calling it. I'm curious to, and I'm sure you've been maybe drawn in to some of these to kind of help verify those. How are investigators handling those types of scenarios? Because I think that's probably the most thing that's more applicable to the audience.
It's kind of all over the place, I guess. Much like like anything else in investigations. I'll tell you that the frequency of them. So the first time I ever heard the concept was actually at Wilmington and Techno Security in 2023. I had somebody come up and basically explain to me what I just did. I have this defendant that says that is not them, it's AI generative. I'm like, wow. Because we've been working in this space, and the product the product's been around since 2016. It was used within a federal agency for a while before it launched commercially. And then once we launched commercially, but this is the space that we work in, and when everybody started, we were like, oh, you can do for deepfakes. Nobody's really concerned about it. Like, deepfakes wasn't even our original concern. We were more just like, source identification and really data provenance. And we, it's not sexy to say this, but, we approach a deepfake or synthetic or AI, cutting edge generative video the same way we do something from an old Canon camera. It's at the encoder level. So it's not exactly the sexiest means of analysis, but it's reliable, repeatable, and explainable.
Yeah.
And it works. But we've done this research, it's like, don't call this new research. We've been here for years. Like, this is what, but everybody's had new interest in it since we get really, in the synthetic aspect. But when this person came to me and I'm like, I never considered that. I knew we always had this threat of AI in general. I never considered that defense of like, prove that it's real. And I was like, man, you really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, somebody comes up to like, oh, wow, you do this. He's like, I have this case that somebody's claiming that it's general. I'm like, for years, I never had the conversation. Twice in 20 minutes. Wow. And then now over the past year, we're like, I'd say maybe every week somebody coming to us. So it might be a little bit frequent, but definitely a few times a month with the same kind of the same use case, which was something I did not consider when we first went down this road.
Yeah, and that's crazy because I think it's only going to get worse. But the fact that you can recognize codecs and probably pretty quickly identify whether it's a concern or not, is a huge step forward. I think in the industry. Huge.
Yeah. And just to clarify, it's not so much because I know this. I see the names that are popping up here, and I don't want to yell that in the background from my colleagues in the video and audio world. That it's not so much the codec we're picking up on; it's everything else. The codec's one of the things, one element of the video, but a lot of times, I probably should preface this and explain this better earlier. A lot of, like, an iPhone camera original video could have 90 or 100 of these structures or boxes in there. One of those boxes would be where the codec lives, let's say, where the codec information lives, I would say. Yeah.
So you're I can't even. I'm trying to wrap my little tiny gerbil running around in my head right now, who's screaming at me.
It's such a new it's a new concept. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So kudos to you guys. So you're definitely way ahead of the game. You've been around forever. But now I think, again, as technology to the masses picks up and people are using these things in ways that maybe you hadn't considered before, then your tool's in a perfect position to kind of help deal with that a little bit, which is nice in some cases.
I like to think so. Yeah. And I would say, like, listen, and the core of our business right now, it is for the digital examiner, digital investigator.
Right.
We're not out to say. I mean, I'm sure we can make an impact on what you see online through various ways, which is a separate conversation. But our core focus is on a true forensically sound product for use in legal proceedings, and use in court, and use in forensic exams that's reliable. We're not taking a guess at, is this what I'll post online, is this real or is it not? We're producing forensic results here, and I think that's a big difference as we start seeing a lot more people trying to get into the deepfake space. Is that which there definitely there's a need for the prevention of disinformation online, and a lot of people see opportunity there. But we're built for forensics, different thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of, can you give me a scenario of where your tool will be perfect in the forensic world, and how an average investigator, say, I came from a fairly, not really a small agency, but I mean, compared to like a major city, it was small. How someone like myself could have utilized the tool, or can utilize the tool today?
Yeah. A few different ones. I would say, predominantly the ICAC and the CSAM investigations is, we have agencies that are running every acquired video file of potential CSAM through Medex. Because what we're doing now is, let's say cyber tip, search warrant, not to talk, whatever it is, I have acquired data. I have identified, let's say, 50 videos of potential CSAM, run through Medex, and it says, all right, of these 50 videos, these 5 are camera original, just at scale, without having to look at anything. Now, without really doing a deep dive forensic analysis or at scale, we're really starting to scan for camera original production, manufacturing on a device. And a lot of times, what we've seen, and some of the biggest wins that I'm proud of, is we're identifying production or manufacturing where it would never have been charged before. Particularly screen recording of chats, internet chats. Biggest one that we saw initially was an Omegle chat, the screen recording, but it was done in such a way that it took out what didn't look like an Omegle chat. It looked like a downloaded video onto a device. When that video was actually created on the device, that was the first time that video was actually captured, and then subsequently was going to be shared. We don't know if it was really shared after that. I don't know the follow up to that, but we're able to identify, like, no, this is somebody producing. This is the difference between charging somebody the possession of 5 videos versus production of 5 videos,
right?
Which we typically don't charge that often, and we should. From there, and even cyber tip triage. On the other aspect, we have a lot of users, and I'll call it out by name just because the huge market dominator, public evidence submission portals like Axon Citizen. What used to be called Axon Citizen, I think it's now Axon Community Portal, or where somebody I could send, and this is a really, really super cool feature. As an investigator, I could send a text message to a victim, a witness, and say, here's a text message that's linked to this case number automatically. Click this link, upload your video, and automatically goes to evidence.com. I can review it. Which, unbeknownst to probably definitely the officer sending it out there, and definitely the person sending the video, is that video, when it gets sent to evidence.com, through, and it's not, and believe me, this is not an Axon thing at all, right? Not at all. This is, let's say, an Apple. It's an iPhone process when it interacts from my stored camera roll and my mobile, my Safari web browser or Chrome, whatever I'm using. It changes the video, and it changes it in such a way that it obfuscates, it hides the fact whether that video file has been edited or it is the original. So I could take a video, a 5-minute video. I could trim the first minute off of it. I could send it through evidence.com through that link. And there's nothing in the metadata that the actual metadata values that you'll be able to look at, and you will be able to see at all whether you have the whole video or not.
Right.
Structurally, Medex will be able to detect that. Medex will be able to say the structure at the binary level, where that those boxes are organized, are completely different between a true original and a trim, regardless of what the metadata says. That's concerning to me, as for our law enforcement officers. Yeah. And my biggest concern is somebody goes up in the witness stand and says, all right, here's the video of the incident. And the first question it asks them is, where's the rest of it? Yeah. The other aspect of that we see also is a lot of, if somebody opens up the public submission portal, let's say at a critical incident, say, hey, everybody submit these videos to this website or use this link. What happens is that we've seen from our users that, somebody sends out a link, they open up a portal, and inherently you get, let's say, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 submissions. 98% of them are anime, 2% are cat videos, and like 0.5% is evidence. But how do you actually go through and triage all of them?
Right.
We're able to run at scale and identify what's cam original, what's been downloaded, what's been edited, to get some actionable intel from that pretty quickly.
No kidding.
Yeah, and that's outside of just the general, I want to make sure my evidence gets into court and my authenticity aspect of it as a check and balance there.
Right. Ron had a clarification question, and I kind of got one too here. I'll pop it up on the screen here so we can have it. He's wants to clarify so the video is getting transcoded when uploaded, or what's exactly happening?
So I know Ron understands the nuance of it's so the pixel values will remain the same. So it's actually getting rewrapped. So the container is getting recontainerized. So imagine this way. Let's say I have I don't use another box example. Let's say I have a bucket that's holding my video my video data. All right. And when it goes up to evidence.com, the video data that's in the bucket's the same, but the actual bucket goes from, let's say, the orange Home Depot Homer bucket to a blue Lowe's bucket. But in the process, it removes any ability for you to tell if that blue Lowe's bucket was the original or it originated in an orange bucket first.
That makes sense.
Is that a good analogy off the fly?
Now that's explaining to me, because I literally was just at Lowe's prior to this broadcast getting picked up on screws. So I appreciate that. That's a great analogy. Even Ron. I got it. All right. You made some things click. Bring it down to Home Depot and Lowe's type explanations. We'll get it every time. I like it. Awesome, man. And I totally forgot, and you guys have pretty much been doing it there in chat, is if you have a question for Brandon, please put it into chat. If you're on, we can see YouTube for sure. X, Twitter, is hit or miss. Sometimes we see those questions or not. LinkedIn doesn't allow the API to come back. Just yell at Microsoft for that one. Don't know why they don't open that API up. But we can see Facebook questions as well. But come over to the home channel at YouTube. You can see the rolling chat that's happening here during the live broadcast. You can actually watch it in replay too. Put your question in. Ask Brandon, and don't make it too difficult where I don't understand what in the world you're talking about. But he's going to do a great job of explaining it to you. Man, I just realized, holy crap, it's like 4 minutes till the top of the hour. And man, how can I don't want to give your email away like on open internet because all right, if you don't care, then a way to get a hold of you. Now, obviously, you're in Cyber Social Hub as well.
Yes, I am Cyber Social Hub. I will tell you that my email you can drop in there. It's Brandon at medexforensics.com. The exclusive to the Cyber Social Hub viewers is if you the running joke is we have to fix our phone tree. So 98% of the time, if you call the Medex office number through the phone tree, you're going to come to me anyway. That's like the running joke. You're always going to get to me somehow. We'll update that. But yeah, so email Brandon at medexforensics.com is likely the easiest way. You shared our website before. I'm on LinkedIn, and it's probably the easiest ways to get a hold of me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You just never know. I don't want to put that out there and you get, Ron sits around and it's summertime. Maybe he's having a hurricane or some kind of smoothie drink and he decides to message you at 3 a.m. Yeah. Keep message you at 3 a.m. and then message you again at 3:01. And
and probably by 3:10, I'll probably answer.
Right. Sorry, Ron. You were just there, man. You were the last name I saw. So you're the guy that got it. So. And even Megan's like, oh yeah, hurricane sounds tasty. Yeah. I just got literally just before we went live. I didn't get to use it yet. And what do you say? Hey man, it was 15 times. Oh, right on. And I just got the Margaritaville drink maker, the slushy machine.
Yeah. I just the blender.
Just got it. It's got ice in it, and then the blender. And I tested. The kids wanted some blue concoction that, again, no non-alcoholic. But,
sure, the kids wanted it.
They're going to sleep well. Mine's a Jack and Coke later. I'm going to try it, but I got to wait till the day's over. I was going to do it before the hubcast. I'm like, I got to at least track what Brandon's saying because he talks some pretty in-depth stuff. Otherwise, I'd have been, drinking the Jack and Coke slushy, which I think I told you about, the Jack and Coke slushy at IASIS.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, so that's my goal. I'm gonna make one. It won't even. Ron says, "Oh yeah, daiquiris." Yeah, no man, it makes a killer one. I've been YouTube and watching it like nonstop. Anyway, the topic goes sideways real fast. So, all right, hey Brandon, thanks so much, man, for hanging out with us. I can't believe an hour had gone by that quickly. It literally blinked, and it's by. No, there's no party at Kevin's. Just for the record, there. I'm in Ohio, for crying out loud. What are you gonna do here? Nothing. Well, I take that back. We have Cedar Point, right, which now Six Flags owns. I'm a little sad by that. They just bought them, and then you and I were talking just before the session went live, and not many people know Ohio has islands. We have islands, and they are. The only way to get to them is by boat, and they have some great establishments to partake of smoothie drinks in frozen delight. There we go. We'll leave it at that.
Better make sure that generator's working on the boat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That margarita machine that'll suck some power.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. So very good. And your money's gone. Yeah, no, absolutely. It is just like that gone. So very cool. Brandon, again, thank you so much. If you guys want to find out more about Medex or talk to Brandon, just go head over to the website. I'll put it to the show notes. It's in chat here somewhere. If you scroll up, you will absolutely see it. And if you want to talk more in depth, he is a wealth of information, as you can just imagine from just our last hour of conversation. So again, man, thank you very much. I appreciate
Kevin,
it.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast. Really. Thanks. Thanks everybody for being here and hanging in. Yeah.
As always, man, we'll have to have you back on as well if I can convince you into
Anytime.
it. All right.
Anytime.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. And don't go anywhere. We got to do the whole end rolling credit thing, and then we'll chat after the show here. All right?
All right, cool.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Again, thank you. Appreciate it.